Have you ever been puzzled by how to check if a float is infinity, zero, or denormal? It can be tricky, right? If that's you, then you're in the right place. Today, we're diving into these float checks and showing you exactly how to implement them. I totally get it. Trying to determine the state of a float can be frustrating, especially when you're not sure how to approach it. You're definitely not alone in this. Many developers face similar challenges. Here's the specific situation we're looking at. One user recently asked, "How do I check if a float is infinity, zero, or denormal?" They already have a function for checking if a float is negative, but they want to expand that functionality. Sound familiar? Let's explore this together. So what do we need to know? Floats can represent a range of values, including special cases like infinity, zero, and denormal numbers. Understanding how to identify these cases is crucial for accurate calculations and avoiding errors in your programs. And stick around. I have a handy tip at the end that will make your float checks even easier. You won't want to miss it. To check if a float is infinity, the user can utilize the properties of floating point representation. Specifically, a float is considered infinity if its exponent is all ones and its fraction is zero. Next, to determine if a float is zero, the user should check if both the exponent and the fraction are zero. This indicates that the float represents a value of zero. Finally, to check if a float is denormal, the user needs to verify that the exponent is zero while the fraction is non-zero. This indicates that the float is a denormalized number. Fun fact: did you know that denormal numbers allow for representation of values closer to zero than what normal floats can represent? They help maintain precision in calculations. Now let's look at the answers provided by other users. An alternative approach provided by a user suggests using the ISO C99 macros, infinity and nan, for checking float values. They recommend using the functions isFinite, isNormal, and isNan to determine if a float is infinity, zero, or denormal. However, they caution that comparing against the nan macro won't confirm if a value is actually nan. For more information on floating point classes and handling infinity and nan in C99, check the provided links. Here's that handy tip I promised. Always validate your float inputs before performing operations. This can save you from unexpected results and make your code more robust. And there you have it. You now know how to check if a float is infinity, zero, or denormal. Remember, understanding these concepts is key to writing reliable code. If you found this helpful, hit the subscribe button for more tips, and don't miss our next video on advanced float operations.